John Shipley of Jaguars on SI reports nothing noticeable on Trevor Lawrence's ankle at practice. He was officially listed as limited on Wednesday. A bunch of y'all went into panic mode. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with 16? How will he be able to play the next 4 weeks? As someone in John's replies reminded all of us, remember in 2022 when he had that mysterious toe injury and the Jaguars won a playoff game? So it's okay. Ultimately, the league, the team, they have to report any sort of discomfort. Heaven forbid something should happen in a game, and then it comes out that, oh, he was limited in practice all week. Oh, that's a violation of the Pro Football Writers Association's agreement with the National Football League. So deep sigh of relief, folks. It's going to be okay when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. And a bunch of you were in my mentions too when I said that yesterday on Wednesday, the first practice that I've ever seen in December in which all 53 members of the active 53-man roster practiced in some form or fashion, saying it was a jinx. Trevor practiced. He was just limited. Like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, folks. Very sad that there are some. Oh no, now it says we are live on YouTube. So maybe Brent Martineau and Stuart Weber working some magic behind the scenes. Let's hope that that's the case. Let's check in and see who's hanging out with us on YouTube over on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. Because listen, we always have fun interacting with you guys. So much fun, in fact, that we went a little long with our friend Will Parkinson on Tuesday's edition of the little program. And so I didn't get to answer a lot of your questions. I promised that we would answer them. Here we are. Let's start with one from our friend Ether Dark, a consistent listener of this program. Are we out on De'Ami Brown, and will Gardeck the Barbarian be extended? I will couple that question, Ether Dark, with a couple others that we received from Tuesday's program that we did not get to. Matt asked about extending Jacoby Myers, and I will put the left tackle conversation here off to the side. We'll get to that here in a second. Yes, they're out on De'Ami Brown. That is because Brian Thomas Jr. is not the focal point of this offense like Liam Cohen and James Gladstone probably thought when they first took the job. And that's not a knock on Brian Thomas. It's just a misevaluation of his skill set. And he may not be at this point in his career, because he could still develop into that. He is not Jamar Chase. He is not Justin Jefferson when it comes to those in-breaking middle of the field routes. Not his sweet spot, but he is a vertical field stretcher. James Gladstone signed De'Ami Brown with the intention of him being that vertical downfield threat for this offense. He's no longer that player because Brian Thomas Jr. is that player. Jacoby Myers has entered stage left, and he has become that consistent winner of over the middle of the field, that safety valve for Trevor Lawrence in the passing game, in addition to being able to stretch the field himself and play all three wide receiver positions. And so ultimately, it was always a dart throw. It's a one-year contract. You can bellyache about the $10 million all you want. All I know is that once upon a time, $19 million, $18 million, whatever it was in dead cap money for Blake Bortles in 2019, 6 years ago, was viewed as, oh my goodness, why would you throw all that money away? And now we've got teams like the Cleveland Browns and the Denver Broncos that have incurred $50 million dead cap numbers, not active salary, dead cap numbers. That puts them behind the eight ball. And we're like, oh, look at them. They're doing great. Look at their rookie class in Cleveland. Look at the Denver Broncos. They're so much fun. It's $10 million. It's a drop in the bucket. Let it go. Gardeck should be extended in my estimation. It'll be curious to see what his market is as he is approaching, I believe it's his age 32 season. He's proven to you, not only is he a special teams demon, but he actually can be a consistent winner one-on-one off the edge, which I think they knew. And at least from what I've been told, that was always the game plan, was to get him on the field on defense in addition to his special teams prowess. But I think it's been all more, and that it's been everything they could have asked for and then some. So I would think that if you can sign him to a team-friendly deal, I'm curious what his market will look like come the offseason. But I can also tell you this. Everyone I've spoken to at the Miller Electric Center doesn't want to talk about the draft. They don't want to talk about free agency. They haven't even looked at it. They're not even thinking about the Denver Broncos at this point, folks. They are locked in on the New York Jets and the New York Jets only. Travis Etienne told me yesterday when I asked about being in a playoff push, he's like, I'm not thinking about the playoffs. I'm thinking about beating the Jets. And that's probably the mindset you want to have when you consider back in 2023. And yes, some of the players are the same, some are not. This team was, at least according to their head coach, maybe reading their press clippings a little too much. So that's of note. Got a kick out of Hef's comment, which I believe Hef is live with us here on this Thursday, but your comment from Tuesday with Will Parkinson about Division III football, given that Will and I went to rival schools in Ithaca College and Cortland, that didn't know Press Taylor was being talked about. Thank you for that. I needed that. The left tackle conversation. Liam Cohen spoke, as he does each and every Wednesday morning, and he told us that Cole Van Lanen has earned the right to be a starter. Walker Little, still progressing through the concussion protocol, though, was on the field at left tackle during the open viewing portion of practice on Wednesday. I was not at practice today, but my assessment on the situation, or at least my best educated guess, would be that he was still playing left tackle in practice during the open field viewing portion of practice, on today. But I could be wrong, but I will just tell you, I won't be surprised if it's Walker Little at left tackle and Cole Van Lannon is your swing. It's a very valuable position that the Jaguars find themselves in, an enviable position at that, to have 6 starting caliber offensive linemen. And by the way, if you think that the arrow is pointing up for Jonah Monheim and Wyatt Milam, now you're at 8. And that's not including Chuma Edoga, who you gave a 2-year contract to be another depth piece for you. So now you're at 9. That is a luxury. Ask the Los Angeles Chargers right now. Most teams do not have. So do I think it will be Walker Little, Cole Van Lannon on Sunday at left tackle? I believe it will be Walker Little. I could be wrong. I also believe that Cole Van Lannon is going to get a bag this offseason. I also happen to know that the Jaguars would love to retain his services. It is going to be interesting to see what happens when it comes to that position, as well as the right tackle. A lot of you want to float Anton Harrison moving to left. The offensive line coach told us in June that they needed to see more out of Anton Harrison, who, statistically speaking, when he's been available, has been one of the better pass-blocking right tackles in the National Football League. His fellow Oklahoma Sooner, Lane Johnson, of course, being out the last few weeks helps inflate those stats just a bit. But I also think that the run blocking has left a lot to be desired. We've talked about it on this program. The Jaguars have been running off the left side. They have to bring help on that right side. Brenton Strange's pancake that many of you saw on Sounds of the Game Wednesday night on the Jaguars in-house channel, that was along the right side of the offensive line. It wasn't on the left. It wasn't helping Cole Van Lannon. Things that we just need to remember as we sort through this 2025 season and look to the future of this franchise. But again, we're rooted in the here and now, folks. We're in a playoff push, even if Travis Etienne doesn't want to talk about that. And thank you to my friend Jag Lawyer, who, of course, is a member of the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook. You can be too. The link to sign up is scrolling here on the bottom line. The boat is driving rickshaws outside the stadium where he belongs. We are in the best place. Yes, we are in the good place, I might even say. Jag Lawyer. Let's get to some numbers before we hear from our friend Jake Asman of ESPN New York, who we did record that part of the episode yesterday. So we're going to do a little time traveling. I know y'all love when we time travel here on Club 904. And he's going to give us a detailed breakdown of what the Jets are bringing to Duval, which, we'll have some updates on that too, since we did record that part of the episode yesterday morning. But first, let's look inside the numbers. Our good friend Daniel Griffiths doing such great work over at actionnewsjacks.com. He has a new article up right now, the top 25 edge defenders in the National Football League and where Josh Hines Allen rates in that group. I want to specifically, as much as Daniel really focused on the pressure numbers, I want to specifically focus on the pressure percentage. We can also look to pass rush win percentage, which I think is equally important, especially when you consider Myles Garrett is 5th in pressures, but is number 1 in pass rush win rate. So that is, of course, of note. But I want to focus on the pressure percentage because then we're going to take a look, if you guys haven't already, we're going to take a look at the rookie edge rushers and their pressure percentage in 2025. And then we're just going to sort through that a little bit. So Aiden Hutchinson leads the league in pressures. Cool. Get your jokes off at the door. 16.3% pressure rate. Will Anderson is 2 with 76 pressures. That's a 20.1% pressure rate. Micah Parsons, 17.9%. Josh Hines Allen, 72 pressures, 16.3% pressure rate. You got those numbers handy? Okay, cool. Now we flip over to the rookies. And this is where it gets fun, folks. So remember those numbers. I know it's tough because there's a lot of numbers that I just threw out at you, but just remember some of those numbers again for context. Aiden Hutchinson, the most pressures in the National Football League at 80, a 16.3% pressure percentage. The number 1 rookie in that category is James Pierce of the Atlanta Falcons, a 14.3% pressure rate. Danny Strigow, top 15, 10.8%. I know that's a large 6% percentage points away from Aiden Hutchinson and his pressures that he has. And Aiden Hutchinson has 80 pressures and Danny Strigow has 7 in 116 snaps. But that's pretty good when you consider one was the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft and the other one was an undrafted free agent. Let's take it a step further in case you haven't seen it yet. Look, scroll down a little bit there, folks. BJ Green, top 20. 9.3% for pressures. So again, small sample size in 53 pass rush snaps. And guess who he's ahead of? Mason Graham, who many thought the Jaguars, including myself, would take with what they originally thought would be the number 5 pick in this past April's NFL draft. Graham, of course, has 545 snaps this year compared to Green's 53 and Strigau's 116, and he too a 9.3% pressure rate. The point is, the Jaguars have a limited sample size to go off of right now when it comes to those two rookie edge rushers, but make no mistake about it. Much like the De'Ami Brown situation, James Gladstone not afraid to say, look, we signed Emmanuel Ogbah as a veteran stopgap, and that's all he's going to be. And that's okay, because we are seeing development from our rookies, even if right now it's a small sample size. We talked about it on the Locked On Jaguars squad show last night, this idea, which of course you can check that out on YouTube as well. You know, Marcus Ogden said, we all want to talk about what's intangibly rich, but what certainly is intangibly rich is a high motor, and that's something that's going to keep you in the league forever. And he said right now, no one is playing outside of Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. No one is playing along the Jaguars defensive front with a higher motor than Danny Strigau. And by the way, he's doing it with a brace on his knee, which, as he told me on Sunday, he did wear a brace his final year in Minnesota. So he's a little bit more familiar. He's given Trayvon Walker some tips since Trayvon's now sporting that knee brace as well. At the same time, though, for him to be doing what he is doing as an undrafted free agent, for BJ Green to be doing what he is doing, getting production you were not getting out of your veterans along that edge, and the willingness of the front office to not be stubborn and to say, we're going to give these young cats run, which they did sign them, just like they signed Ogbah, just like they signed Smoot. But the fact that they are willing to say, hey, you know what? Whoever's the best player, we don't really care where you were drafted. We don't care how much money we pay you. We want to make sure that that person is on the field to help us win football games. It's very encouraging to see, as is the fact that we are now live streaming on YouTube. Appreciate everybody who's hanging out with us on a Thursday afternoon. I see a lot of questions pouring in. Don't worry, we're going to leave enough time at the end of the show for Q&A, so keep those questions coming. A little time traveling coming up as we will visit with our friend Jake Asman, fellow Ithaca College Bomber, now a host at ESPN New York, to break down the Jags and the Jets coming up this Sunday at Everbank Stadium.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back into a Thursday edition of Club 904. We appreciate everybody watching live, whether that is now on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever that may be. My personal channel at Mia O'Brien TV on X, the .2 channel at Action News Jax and actionnewsjax.com. A whole lot of ways to interact with us. Some of you have already interacted, especially on YouTube. So much so that apparently one of the comments got deleted about stop with the, here we go. Nope. Oh, nope. He still deleted it. Duval 23, man. Why are you deleting your comment? Stop with the trap game crap. Liam says it's not a thing. Brenton Strange says the Jets beat us last year. I agree with you. I was just talking with Austin Lane about it before he exited stage left out of the Action Sports Jax podcast studio. I got you to click on the episode, though, didn't I? Speaking of an award-winning episode, let's catch up with our friend Jake Asman. Again, this interview, this conversation was recorded yesterday prior to the announcement that Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields both would not practice Wednesday in Florham Park. Garrett Wilson's window has not been open. From what Will Parkinson told us on Tuesday from Badlands and from what Jake is about to tell you, all accounts, looks like the Jaguars will be facing undrafted free agent rookie quarterback Brady Cook Sunday at Everbank Stadium. But without further ado, let's hear from our friend Jake Asman up at ESPN New York. Pleasure to be joined by longtime friend of the program, the one and only Jake Asman. As you can see, at Jake Asman on the X machine, he has his Twitter back. I probably should have told you that as soon as we logged into StreamYard, Jake. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Club 904. Thanks for hanging out with us. And, good to have you back on the old Bird app, too.
Mia, thank you for having me. And yep, despite, some fake tweets that I was able to get a new home and a new Range Rover because of all the success I had mining crypto, none of that was actually true. The hackers made people think it was, but glad to finally get that straightened out. That stunk. Didn't have my Twitter account for about 5 days, but we're back. So now at Jake Asman is actually me again.
We're back, baby. And of course, you can also find him at the Jake Asman Show. That is his daily program on the old YouTube. And he also is a host on ESPN New York and a long-suffering New York Jets fan, and now someone who covers the team and also hosts a nice little Sunday pregame program with former Jets GM Mike Tannenbaum. If that hasn't given you enough street cred to the folks here listening to Club 904, I'm not sure what does, Jake. And it says to me that you are the perfect person to assess the first-year regime of Liam Cohen, the first-year regime of Aaron Glenn. We had your friend, my friend as well, Will Parkinson, on Tuesday from Badlands in the Turn on the Jets podcast. And Will said that, quite frankly, Aaron Glenn just has less to work with comparatively to Liam Cohen. What do you make of the job that Glenn has done here in year one? Is much like Ben Johnson in Chicago, I think that these two coaches, they will always be compared, given that they were hired during the same cycle.
Yeah, look, clearly Glenn has less to work with if you just talk quarterback and you just compare it based on that. But it was rough at the beginning of the year. I mean, the Jets were the last team in the league to get their first win. They started 0-7. There were certainly some moments this year where you looked at Aaron Glenn and it felt like he was in over his head as a head coach. He has, I think, stabilized things. Since then, his clock management, in-game decisions, they've been a lot better of late. But now you're just talking about a talent void in a lot of key areas. The defense, which once upon a time, not that long ago, was one of the best in the league. Whether it's the scheme not fitting the current players or just some regression with some guys you were counting on. And not to mention they traded away 2 former All-Pros in Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams. They've been nowhere near what they once were. So, look, it's been a very disappointing first year for Aaron Glenn. That said, he's not going anywhere. They have all this draft capital. They have over $100 million in salary cap space. So next year, the expectation is going to be that they're going to be an improved football team. But anyone trying to tell you that, this is all part of the plan, that the Jets expected to start 0-7, that, they were supposed to be eliminated from the playoffs this early again for now the 15th straight season, they're lying to you because it's been very disappointing all around.
Well, including did they plan on trading Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner at the trade deadline? And were those two even scheme fits? I would think back in August, the thought was, oh, they are going to mesh with Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes, which Will told us on Tuesday. He doesn't even know if Steve Wilkes is long for Florham Park. And so in turn, that's where I think it's interesting that they're just like, all right, we're going to start at ground zero, even if this is a different looking defense in the years to come.
Yeah, look, their plan definitely was not to trade either one of those players if they were, fighting for a playoff spot, if they were in the mix. Once they started 0-7 and they were 1-7 at the deadline, and they got the offer they did for Sauce, right? You're talking about 2 first-round picks for any non-quarterback. You got to consider it. They obviously pivoted their plan. Quinnen was a guy that was under contract for another year, but he wanted to renegotiate his current rate. He didn't have any guaranteed money left after the year. And I was blown away by the return they got for him, getting a first and a second. I think surprised most people. The thought was maybe they'd be able to get a second for Quinnen. So I think that came down to value. But again, the reason why they had to make those trades is because they started 1-7 in the first place. That wasn't part of the plan. The plan was, with better coaching, a team a year ago that had the lead in the fourth quarter 7 times and set a franchise record for most fourth quarter blown leads, with better coaching would be able to close out those games and win. But the coaching actually got worse through the first 7 games of the year. So they pivoted and now are selling, the fan base and ownership on a rebuild with all these picks to find the quarterback and go from there. But their original plan, going into the year, Mia, they were going to try and win games this year and fight for a playoff spot, which obviously you start 0-7. That's not going to happen.
They thought that they would do what the Jags did, which is by simply changing the coaching staff out. They had the talent in the building. They'd be a more professional operation. By the way, the Jets did hold on to a fourth quarter lead the last time they played here in Duval County. So that is noteworthy. I also realized, Jake, I did not get your one-shot set up. So, hey, the beauty of live podcasting, stand by. Let's get that going. Perfect. All right. We got the one shot ready to go so we could show people your beautiful setup that you've got cooking at the Jake Asman show in the home studio. But to that point, Jake, I just think that ultimately, and hindsight is 2020, they go into a season and they say, you know what? We've got Justin Fields played decent football for the Pittsburgh Steelers in limited spot duty during the first 6 weeks of the 2024 season. We've got the always reliable Tyrod Taylor. We're going to piecemeal this thing on offense. We're going to throw it back to the early 2000s, make Kirk Ferentz in Iowa proud. We're going to run the ball and play great defense. And it just hasn't worked out. And so let's flip it over to the offensive side of the ball. Where is there hope for this team, not just in 2025, but even beyond that? And I know the obvious answer is the draft, but they need more than just a quarterback, correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest issue they had is, they gave Justin Fields $30 million guaranteed, said we're going to let him play quarterback. We're going to build the offense around him. And they were just wrong on Fields' ability to do any of the things they basically tried to sell the fan base on. I mean, the reason why teams haven't, quote, let Fields play quarterback is because he's not able to do it. I mean, I don't know how else to really describe it. The positive, if you're a Jet fan, is that for a team that only has 3 wins, they actually do have some key pieces already in place for whoever the quarterback is next year. I think most of us expect it to be a rookie in some capacity, whether it be, someone they trade up for or just stick and pick with one of their 2 first-round picks. They have 2 bookend offensive tackles. Armand Member, their right tackle they drafted, he's been really, really good as a rookie. They have a left tackle in Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, who's been really good now that he's getting his first full season to start for them. And you already do have a number 1 wide receiver in place in Garrett Wilson. So, you have 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years. And in theory, none of those picks need to be used on an offensive tackle, which is encouraging. Mason Taylor, a rookie tight end, has flashed some real potential. The expectation is the Jets are going to bring back Breece Hall. So you're not starting from nothing offensively. They need more depth at receiver. They probably need a second tight end. They got to figure out the interior offensive line, what they're going to do. At guard and center, they have probably 3 guys for 2 spots. They got to determine, who they're going to bring back between John Simpson and Elijah Vera Tucker. They're both free agents at the end of the year. But again, it's been incredibly disappointing. But they actually do have a decent offensive line in place and Garrett Wilson, which is not nothing for whoever the quarterback is stepping into that spot for next season.
Hey, once upon a time, that was the thought with Jacksonville with this hiring locale for Liam Cohen or whoever took the job. You've got Brian Thomas Jr., you have Trevor, so that's at least something, and an offensive line that there were pieces here, maybe not to the extent of those two former first round tackles that you got cooking up there in New York. But at the same time, there were pieces in place, and there's the coach already in place. And so, do you think that we will see consistency from what we saw from Aaron Glenn year one to what we will see year two? Or do you think the players may be similar in his second year, but this is an entire coaching staff that's going to get maybe blown up, at least on one side of the ball? And so maybe in this matchup on Sunday in Jacksonville, we already are seeing signs of that splintering.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, will be brought back. He comes over with Aaron Glenn from the Lions, where he was the pass game coordinator under Ben Johnson. You could see some staff changes to some of the other members of the offensive staff. That wouldn't surprise me, especially if you're going to have a rookie playing next year. Maybe you're looking to bring back or make some additions to that side of the ball and bring in some people who are more known for helping with the development of a young quarterback. I could see some changes to the QB coach or an offensive advisor that they bring in, depending on what their plan is at QB. Defensively, I would be surprised if Steve Wilkes is not the quote-unquote fall guy for this year. This defense, I mean, Mia, they don't have an interception yet this season. They've set the NFL record for the most amount of games into a season without an INT, and most weeks they don't even come close. They actually dropped a few this past week against Tua on the Dolphins, but most weeks, again, they don't come close. They have one defensive takeaway all year. It was a fumble recovery in the Jets-London game against Denver in week 7. I mean, it has been just a joke all the way around with the lack of takeaways. So, this is a defense that had 8 of its 11 starters back year over year. Again, it wasn't that long ago. The Jets were one of the better young defensive teams in the league. So someone's going to pay the price for that. I don't think it's going to be the head coach. He's not going to fire himself. So I could see Steve Wilkes being the fall guy. That'd be probably the biggest staff change that they will make going into next season.
And it's funny because I said it and experienced it here in Jacksonville. This idea of a great defense really only has a 3 to 4 year shelf life in its current iteration. We saw it with the Jaguars from 2016 to 2019, fell off a cliff, and certainly trading away pieces was a large part of that, but it was already declining in 2019. The Chicago Bears, the ball can only bounce your way, Jake, so many times. And I think with the Jets, the hope was that it was a bit more sustainable because of those young pieces. But now with a change in regime, a change in philosophy, and then, of course, a change in personnel, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner exiting stage left, they go the same way as the Saxonville crew and whatever Matt Nagy and company had going in those first few years. Let's talk specific to this matchup on Sunday, Week 15, the Jaguars and the Jets at Everbank Stadium. Obviously, a very different scenario than it was December of last year. But tell me this, Jake, where do you look at this game, or maybe you don't, and you say, okay, the Jets may have the upper hand here. The Jaguars should be worried about X.
Ooh. The special teams would be the one thing I would point to. The Jets special teams has been excellent all year. It's a shame that the Jets are 3-10 because, I mean, they have gone out there on special teams, whether it be their punter, who I think has had an all-pro year in Austin McNamara, or their kicker, Nick Falk, who is kicking like it's 2010 again for the Jets. They both have been phenomenal. Their coverage units have been great on both punts and kicks, and they've had multiple games this year where they've won games because of a kickoff return or a punt return. The only bright spot from the Jets' loss to Miami last week was Isaiah Williams brought back another return for a score. The advantage basically every week for the Jets has been with their special teams unit. They don't have, many advantages, Mia, but they've gotten a boost really all season from the special teams. Chris Banjo, their special teams coordinator, to me has been the most impressive coach that Aaron Glenn has hired to this coaching staff.
So we got a lot of questions when Will was on the pod on Tuesday about what sort of defensive coverage the Jets would run. And Will kind of just simply answered that with, well, the special teams is good, and Steve Wilkes doesn't really know what he's doing, and these pieces don't know what they're doing. But in terms of what Trevor Lawrence and company may face on Sunday, any guesses as to not just personnel to watch out for, but coverages, or is this truly just a week-to-week operation where they're throwing spaghetti against the wall, Jake Asman, and seeing if it sticks or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think Will kind of nailed it. I mean, they were a very man-oriented team at the beginning of the year. Then they started running more zone. It's been very split. They're very predictable on third down. You'll see a lot of man, and typically the quote-unquote bright offensive minds have been able to pick up on whatever it is the Jets are doing and figure it out on the fly and expose the Jets. I mean, that's been a big problem when they've gone up against any of the quote unquote bright minds all season, including Mike McDaniel this past week. So I would expect, something similar with Liam Cohen, who I think is another really creative offensive play caller on Sunday. The defense has been so disappointing. So I think Will kind of nailed it. They kind of make it up on the fly. None of it has really worked all year. And again, this is a defense that does not have a single interception. And we're going into what? Week 14 of the NFL season? Is it week 15? Whatever it is.
Week 15, yep.
Yeah,
Almost there.
It's hard to believe, but like that hopefully gives your audience a little perspective on just how bad the Jet defense has been for this entire season.
We did have a submission on Tuesday, given that, of course, Will works for the Badlands Podcast Network, that we should play Born to Run because Liam Cohen just needs to run the ball. And that is how you defeat this Jets defense and you submit them to your will. Because the MO of the Jaguars, the identity that they want to convey is that they are physical at the line of scrimmage and that they can move someone against their will. And they've been able to do that largely in 2025, even if it's kind of been a bit up and down here of late recently. Jake, how have the Jets been in stopping the run?
They got out to a really poor start in that category. There was a moment about midway through the year where they were playing a lot better. Then the last couple of weeks, they've completely regressed. Bijan Robinson torched them a couple of weeks ago. And then this past week, I mean, if Devon Achane didn't get hurt, he probably would have 300 rushing yards alone in this game this past week. So the last couple of weeks, they've gone back to being as bad as they were against the run that they were at the start of the year. So again, if I'm the Jaguars, run the football, dominate the time of possession. They should have no problem winning this game. Now, will they cover, 12.5 points? That's still a big number for any NFL team. The Jets, the one thing you can say about Glenn, they basically have played hard for him all year. That's why it was so disappointing to watch them get blown out by Miami last week, because despite the talent issues, they've been in most of these games after starting 0-7. So I could see it being a game into the fourth quarter, but I can't pick the Jets. And I think if Jacksonville doesn't turn it over, they should have no problem winning this game.
Yeah, 12.5 points, the largest margin that the Jaguars have been favored by in Vegas since 2007. We weren't at Ithaca College. I was barely in high school, so I know you were not in high school at that juncture, Jake. And so certainly some history potentially in Duval County this week. Briefly, let's hit on the offensive side of the ball for the Jets. As we are recording this again Wednesday morning, it does appear no Tyrod Taylor, no Justin Fields at quarterback for the Jets. Offensively, what can Anthony Campanella and the Jaguars defense expect to be going up against?
Yeah, I mean, it probably will be Brady Cook making his first full start. He's a UDFA that had to come into this game on Sunday against Miami when the team was down 21-0. He's got the arm. He showed some confidence. There were some bad interceptions he threw in this game. The Jets also had 5 drops when he was out there, so the stat line is not as bad as what it appears. There was a walk-in touchdown that John Mechie dropped, so they didn't exactly help their rookie quarterback who's being thrusted into a really tough spot. I'd expect him to be a little better this week, but again, I don't know what you can reasonably expect from a UDFA out of Missouri stepping into his first NFL start. So, for the Jets to have a shot, they're going to have to run the ball with Breece Hall. He's their best offensive player with Garrett Wilson remaining out. But again, I would expect it to be Brady Cook. I don't see what the purpose would be going back to Justin Fields at this point. And full transparency, most Jet fans like myself, we don't want to see any more wins. At this point, losing is in the best interest of the Jets. The higher they're picking, the less they, in theory, have to give up and any trade up to get one of these quarterbacks that are coming out.
I guess we could ask Rich Samini, right? He'll know I'm sorry I had to do it. In terms of the quarterback mystery that was so shrouded up in the New York area at the beginning of the season when apparently only the ESPN NFL Nation reporter, according to Aaron Glenn, would know.
Ask Rich. Yeah.
Starting under center. Ask Rich. That's just iconic. To that point, Jake, let's wrap with this. Obviously the focus of this podcast is the Jaguars. The focus of this episode is the Jags-Jets Sunday at the bank. But there's a lot of college football fans in our stratosphere, especially here at Action Sports Jax. And so to that point, a lot of folks wondering what direction the Jets will go with those 2 first-round picks in this upcoming April's draft. And it's still early. It's December 10th as we're recording this, December 11th as you all are listening to it. And so I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but when you look at this year's quarterback crop, do you actually believe the Jets will be selecting a quarterback in this April's draft that will be starting for them in 2026?
I'd be surprised if they didn't, right? I mean, what are you selling your fan base when you tried it with Justin Fields for a year? They were under no pressure to take anyone this past year. It didn't work out. Now you have 2 first-round picks this year. You have to get a young signal caller in that room. I mean, with respect to Brady Cook, I don't think anyone expects him to be the long-term answer at the quarterback spot. So I'd be surprised. I think when the Jets made the Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams deal, it was with an understanding to ownership. Hey, we're going to make these deals to give ourselves the amount of picks we would need to wheel and deal and get our guy. Now, they don't necessarily have to, I suppose, do it this offseason when they have 3 first-round picks in 2027. But the idea of waiting till 27 when it's a better quarterback class, it feels like we say that one every year. And two, say the Jets finish with 4 wins this year, Mia, and then next year they're a little better, right? They win 6 games, 10 wins through 2 years. Are Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji guaranteed a 3rd year at that point? Probably not, right? So they got to get the quarterback figured out, in my opinion, this offseason. So that quarterback next year goes through the rookie growing pains. Say the Jets win, 6 or 7 games next year. Then in year 3, they're selling the ownership. Hey, we got our guy, year 3 of our regime. We put it all together. Now we're ready to win. I just think if you're talking about like a timeline for this regime, they got to get the quarterback in place this offseason to set themselves up for 2027 because they're not guaranteed 2027 if they don't have a young quarterback and they win, 6 games in 2026. So I think all signs point to the Jets being very aggressive to get one of the guys that declare for this year, whether it's Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore or Ty Simpson. I'd be very surprised if one of those names are not Jets.
Not when Woody Johnson is the owner of the Jets, would I say that Aaron Glenn and company should feel like the job security is there for the long term. To that point, Jake, Will brought up this idea of do the Jets try to trade for another, I don't want to say Band-Aid, but one of these reclamation projects. You alluded to Tanner Engstrand has been largely successful with what he's had to work with in New York in year 1. Do you see a trade for, he threw out Tanner McKee's name, Mac Jones, certainly I'm sure will be a popular name on the streets after his year in the Kyle Shanahan rehabilitation program, even though he still has 1 year left under contract with San Francisco. Do you think that that's the move, or do you think it's just going to be, hey, if we go get a young guy, we can dangle the carrot of hope, prosperity in the years to come?
I wouldn't rule out the Jets adding to their room, right? Like I could see them being interested in a veteran. I don't think there's anyone out there though, unless you're telling me it's like Joe Burrow is available or something like that. I don't see anyone that's available that would then nullify the need to still take someone in the first round. Could they be interested in Mac Jones if they traded a 3rd or a 4th round pick for him? Maybe. I'd be surprised if their plan is going to be, we're going to bring in another veteran, and that's our answer. I think they could add to that room. Maybe they re-sign Tyrod Taylor and then sign Gardner Minshew, and they do kind of what the Giants did where they had Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and then they made their move for Jackson Dart. And you got 3 guys in that quarterback room, and then the rookie, in theory, wouldn't have to play right away, and you let him sit and learn for half the year. I think that would be maybe an ideal situation for the Jets, but I'd be very surprised if this doesn't end with them aggressive in round 1 trying to get their quarterback they believe in.
The Jaguars not being the team that's trying to lose out for draft position or worried about the quarterback position. The Jets, unfortunately, I know this has been 15 years of having that situation, but what a world that we live in comparatively to 365 days ago. Jake,
and think about it, Mia. See, like the Jets, they the playoff droughts 15 years, as you brought up. They're never the worst team in the league, though. They're always one of the worst teams, but they're never sitting there with the number 1 pick. The Jets haven't had the first overall pick in the draft since 1997. Like, it's been 30 years since they actually were the worst team. They're never a good team the last 15 years, but they're never the worst team. So it's like, it's amazing that as bad as they have been, they're never actually the worst of the worst in a particular season.
They do have the ammo, though, if need be, to move up in the draft this year, presumably picking in that top 10. Jake Asman, before we let you go, so 12.5-point spread as of Wednesday, December 10th for this game at Everbank Stadium. It sounds like to me you're picking the Jags to win, but the Jets to cover. How well have they been against the spread this year?
They've actually been a pretty good spread team. I don't have the record in front of me, but I would say I would definitely pick the Jaguars to win. I'll say 28 13, something like that, which I'm not good at math, but that's kind of like right in that range where there's a potential cover, maybe a backdoor cover is a possibility. With
maybe
like
find a special teams touchdown for the Jets too, because at this point in time, that seems to be their MO.
That's their best offense. Yeah, I mean, they even ran a great fake on 4th down that extended a drive that ended up leading to a field goal. So again, like the Jets special teams is the most elite aspect of their team. It's just been wasted given the fact their defense and offense for most of the year has been horrific.
Hey, we had an all-pro punter and long snapper last year, and our kicker probably in Jacksonville should have also received consideration in his rookie year. So we've been there. We know your pain. Keep fighting the good fight in the Badlands that are the New York Jets fandom streets. Where else can folks find you in the weeks ahead, Jake, especially with your coverage of the Jets, but then also on ESPN New York?
Yeah, YouTube every day, Jake Asman, and then I'm on ESPN New York every Sunday morning from 8 to noon, and you'll hear me a lot during the holiday season on ESPN New York. So if you follow me on social media, you'll see I'm always posted when I'm on.
And he's back on social, folks. And so that's the best news that anyone
right.
could ask for this holiday season. Jake, we appreciate you hopping in Club 904. We will do it again soon, brother man. Enjoy Sunday. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy all the shows you have coming up over on ESPN.
You got it, Mia, and enjoy the game Sunday. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute barn burner.
Hey, listen, as long as it's not the driving monsoon that it was this past week, we'll gladly take it.
There you go. Hopefully no rain in the forecast.
Unmute it. Love when that happens. Our thanks again to our good friend Jake Asman for hopping in Club 904. That was recorded yesterday morning, and so did not have the official injury report from the New York Jets, which we now do. As we now know, for those of you who joined us a little bit late, Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, both DNP up in Florham Park on Wednesday. Breece Hall also did not practice with a knee injury. And Mason Taylor did not practice, the star rookie tight end, or I don't want to say star, but standout rookie tight end with a neck injury. Quincy Williams, also DNP with a hand injury, and Azareye'h Thomas, for you Florida State fans, DNP with a shoulder injury. We'll be curious to see if any of those players progress on Thursday, because as we already noted, Garrett Wilson, with the Jets season already over and eliminated from playoff contention, his practice window not opened. He will not play when the Jaguars face the Jets on Sunday. By the way, Jake's take on Joe Burrow, if you've been listening at all over the last 24 hours on ESPN programming and Joe Burrow's very reflective comments in Cincinnati yesterday, maybe aging pretty well. Maybe he'll be on the trade block too. One more segment to go. I want you guys to hear from friend of Duval, Nick Wright. He had some very pointed comments on First Things First on Fox Sports FS1 on Wednesday. We also are going to do a live Q&A, so get those questions coming, those comments in the YouTube chat. We will hit them all before Fleet and Footy takes over on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel coming up at 2 p.m. We will be right back after that.
See a pit? It ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service. A meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Choose your own adventure. It's not just a saying, but a way of life here at Cycles of Jacksonville. And whether it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels, at Cycles of Jacksonville, a great adventure awaits. With brands like Honda, Vespa, Segway, and Triumph, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with their inventory featuring a 60,000 square foot building. If 4 wheels is more your thing, check out the largest selection of Honda Talons in the entire county. No matter what you're looking for, Cycles of Jacksonville is going to have the selection you need, all with great financing and rebates. Plus, if you're active duty military, Cycles of Jacksonville will offer you 0% financing along with great discounts for military and first responders. And when you want to get off the road and set sail, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with everything you need to get on the water. So if you're ready for a great adventure, let Cycles of Jacksonville be your guide. Located off Atlantic Boulevard, or check out their website at cyclesofjacksonville.com.
Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%.
You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave. So feel like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer.
You can schedule a test drive at nimnickbuickgmc.com. And while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnick is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnick. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC. We are professional grade.
One more segment to go here on a Thursday edition of Club 904. We appreciate the nearly 300 of you hanging out with us live on a Thursday afternoon. For timing's sake, want to get you guys right to the sound from Nick Wright on yesterday's episode of First Things First, defending Duval, even if he may have let Trevor slide down Mahomes Mountain a little bit. But maybe he'll change that too in the coming weeks as Trevor Lawrence continues to ascend. More on that coming up in Last Dance. But first, here is that adrenaline rush you needed from Kansas City Chiefs fan, but Jaguars defender Nick Wright.
Jags have a better record than the Chargers.
The
Jags and the Chargers played each other.
Yes, they did.
Was it close, bro?
It was not close.
Is there a history of those two teams and those two highly drafted quarterbacks playing each other? Sure. Has one guy won all of them? Sure. The Jags have played a brutal schedule. They have 9 wins. They have beaten the Niners, the Chiefs when the Chiefs were playing their best ball. Their losses have come to Joe Burrow before he got hurt. Your 1 and 2 teams in your top 10 Tuesday, and a Texans team who they also beat. And oh yeah, by the way, they clocked the Chargers. So why are they behind the Chargers?
Do you actually think that Trevor Lawrence is better than Justin Herbert?
I just know whenever they play, he wins, and Herbert always has more talent on his team.
Wins, guy.
I know that. Here's what I know.
But
I know that in college he was better, and I know that in the pros, the 3 times they've played, he has played far better despite being the underdog consistently. That's what I know.
You kept asking Wilds to make the same thing on the Drake May versus Josh Allen answer. Who's better? Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence?
Honestly, I think Justin Herbert is a better player than Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
But I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, am I tripping? Is this a mountain? Is this about quarterbacks? Or is this about the teams?
I think that what happened with Trevor Lawrence this past week is maybe the best football game I've ever seen.
That's great. I'm asking about the Jaguars being behind the Chargers.
I think the Chargers are better.
Based on what?
Because I think they're better, Nick. They lost to them head-to-head.
They didn't lose to them head-to-head. They got bludgeoned. They got annihilated.
They got bludgeoned head-to-head. I'll see you in the playoffs.
Head-to-head doesn't really matter to Danny.
Super Bowl champs.
I'll see you.
They didn't just beat the Super Bowl champs.
The Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers. I thought you were saying.
No, your team beat.
But
Riley
head-to-head
Leonard
doesn't matter.
Yeah, beating Riley Leonard and beating the Super Bowl champions.
It's a little different.
Patriots beat
A little
the
recency
Bills.
bias, but hey.
5 years.
He didn't leave.
Our thanks to Nick Wright. Just a reminder, as much as no one's going to give the Jaguars respect, at the very least he will on First Things First on FS1. That's not even a plug. I just know you guys needed to hear that there is someone out there defending Duval on national television. But Liam Cohen and friends, they're okay with that. They don't get any respect, and they are just fine with that. Let's get to some questions before we get out of here. The boys of Fleet and Footy making their way into the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 podcast studios. Let's begin with this one. This is from, I want to make sure I get the name right. This was from, I don't know who asked it, but whoever asked about, here it is, from our friend Jags Lawyer. Will Cole Van Lannon replace Patrick McCarry in the starting lineup? As of this writing, again, being in the facility yesterday, no, not for this week. In case you're late to the program, I believe Walker Little will start at left tackle, and I believe Cole Van Lannon slides back to being that Swiss Army knife and that 6th eligible tackle or 6th eligible offensive lineman, the 3rd tackle for the Jaguars in jumbo packages. And I think it's because it's a luxury to have someone who can play all 5 positions, and you don't want to risk, if you trot him out there, let's say Cole Van Lannon gets hurt at left tackle. And I understand it's football. Every time you step out onto a football field, you are taking a risk of injury. But if you put him out there and he gets hurt, okay, well, now you just lost someone who could play all 5 positions. And yeah, now Walker Little can step in at left tackle. But as we've seen, he is a tackle. He is not a guard. And so ultimately, I think Walker Little, should he pass through the concussion protocol, which it appears he will, then he would be the starting left tackle. And as for McCarry, at this juncture, and we ran through the numbers, I know, on Tuesday's episode, I agree Cole Van Lannon is playing better. They both are Swiss Army knives. Patrick McCarry can also play all 5 positions. But I don't see the Jaguars trying to disrupt that continuity. within the offensive line, because it is also rare to have the same starting five for 13 of your 14 games in a football season. And so long term, their hope is that Wyatt Milam takes that right guard spot or takes over for Ezra Cleveland at left guard when his contract expires. I don't know, though, for sure. I loved the shout from Daniel Kilkenny, though, in the YouTube chat on today's episode, that when it was Cole Van Lanen at right tackle and Walker Little at left against the Los Angeles Chargers, that same head-to-head matchup that Nick Wright was just talking about, 192 rushing yards. And so I know Hef has been very vocal in the chat. I know Daniel's been vocal in the chat about Anton Harrison's struggles in the run game. And that is where I think that will be evaluated, not just this week, but long-term in terms of where the Jaguars go with their offensive line. I've heard enough smoke that the Jaguars, it's not complete. It's not like this is their starting five for the next 5 years. So take that with a grain of salt. As noted in the YouTube chat, and this was, I believe, by Duval23 or no, Ether Dark. The line did shift with the news that it's probably Brady Cook going for the Jets under center on Sunday, from a 12.5-point line to a 13.5-point line, which is just, the largest line that the Jaguars have been favored by since 2007 when I was a freshman in high school. Yes, Ether Dark, Jags at 13.5 is crazy, but we could be looking at another 41-0 game with a question mark at quarterback. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I think you all would sign up for that. One other note, this one wasn't from the YouTube chat. This is actually from a friend of mine regarding the Week 18 matchup between the Jaguars and the Titans. Would that be flexed to Saturday? Would it be played Sunday at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., Sunday Night Football? No Monday Night Football that week. Where would the Jaguars-Titans game be flexed to? Because no games have a time on that final Sunday of the regular season as of right now. Games will be played Saturday and Sunday. I will just simply tell you that there are two tiers for me. There's the tier of teams that are in a division race going up against a division opponent who is also in contention. So those could be win and in scenarios, much like the Jaguars and the Titans in 2022. Those games, Packers, Vikings, Chargers, Broncos, Lions, Bears, Steelers, Ravens. I would think that one of those gets either Sunday Night Football or the Saturday night treatment. You also have another tier, which I can't believe I'm putting this team in the conversation, but the Cowboys and the Giants, the Eagles and the Commanders, the Patriots and the Dolphins, I think might even be a little feisty there, where maybe a team needs to win to either clinch home field advantage in the division or to get into the postseason, even if their opponent does not. And so I think that one of those more likely is the Saturday game. That's just speculation. Don't have any intel. I'll try to keep you guys posted since I got some friends in high places when it comes to the programming side of things. So in the weeks ahead, but you won't know that schedule until the Sunday Night Football game of week 17, so a full week before. And so don't have any intel, and I don't think we will up until then, but just file that away. Let's finish with this. Our friend Dan Griffiths, again, in case you missed it, doing the Lord's work over on actionnewsjacks.com. He also shared this one in addition to his new article on Josh Hines-Allen, which is available online right now. Deep passing frequency and accuracy, the percentage of deep attempts that are catchable balls thrown versus the percentage of 20-plus yard throws downfield. And will you look at that, folks? Look who is lurking. It's Trevor Lawrence. Trails only the likes in that upper right-hand quadrant of Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy, Drake May, Sam Darnold, MVP frontrunner Matthew Stafford, and Lamar Jackson. I'd say that's pretty good company, and perhaps Trevor Lawrence is finding his bread and butter at the right time. Make sure you check out Dan's latest over on actionnewsjack.com, and make sure you stick around for Fleet and Footy coming up. Action Sports Jack's 24/7 channel, as I'm going to try to get back onto my weekday one shot, but it's not letting me, so that's fun. Hey, listen, we'll wrap up here then, folks. Fleet and Footy, everything Jack's Armada is coming up next here on Action Sports Jacks. You can listen to this episode if you missed any of it over on the Action Sports Jacks YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. We will be back for a Sunday post-game edition of Club 904. Yours truly and Brent Martineau at 9:00.